Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let's go to the next topic, that is the biography of the writer Jonathan Swift. Jonathan Swift, 1667-1745, was an Irish satirist, essayist and a clergyman best known for his sharp wit and a moral critique of society, religion and politics. Jonathan Swift's major works include A Tale of a Turtle, a satire on religious hypocrisy, The Battle of the Books, a defense of classical wisdom, Gulliver's Travels, a biting allegory on human folly and pride, and A Modest Proposal, an ironic attack on British oppression of Ireland. And these works reflect his lifelong fight against corruption, injustice, and moral blindness, making him one of the greatest moral voices in English literature. Jonathan Swift can be called the master satirist of English literature. Jonathan Swift was born on November 30, 1667 in Dublin, Ireland, to English parents. His father died before his birth and he was raised by relatives, leading to a lifelong sense of insecurity and dependence. His early struggle later shaped his sharp sense of justice and moral criticism of society. Jonathan Swift studied at the Trinity College, Dublin, earning his BA in 1686. During his stay in England, he served as secretary to Sir William Temple, which exposed him to politics and literary circles. Under William Temple's mentorship, Jonathan Swift developed a disciplined writing style and began his journey as a political and social commentator. Religious and political role. Jonathan Swift was ordained as a priest in the Church of Ireland in 1695 and became Dean of St. Patrick's Cathedral, Dublin in 1713. Though deeply religious, he was outspoken against political and clerical corruption. His writings boldly defended Irish independence and exposed British exploitation, making him both admired and feared. Now let's analyze the major works and their explanations. A Tale of a Turtle, published in 1704, a complex satire on religious divisions and human folly, where Swift mocks the corruption and pride within different Christian sects. It uses the story of three brothers representing the Catholic, Anglican, and Puritan churches to criticize how religion strays from true faith. The work highlights Swift's belief that moral decay comes from misusing sacred truths. Next work, The Battle of the Books, 1704. Written during the ancients versus moderns debate, this allegorical piece defends classical writers against modern arrogance. Swift presents a literal battle between the books of ancient and modern authors in a library. Through humor and irony, he argues that true wisdom lies in timeless human understanding, not modern pretension. The next work, Gulliver's Travels, 1726, his most famous work, it tells of Lemuel Gulliver's voyages to imaginary lands, each symbolizing different aspects of human nature and society. Beneath its adventurous surface lies biting satire on politics, pride, science, and moral corruption. Swift exposes human absurdities, showing that man is often more flawed and savage than he admits. The next work, A Modest Proposal, 1729. One of the greatest examples of irony in English literature, this essay suggests that poor Irish families should sell their babies as food to the rich. Beneath its shocking surface lies as if a rage against British oppression and heartless economic policies. It remains a timeless critique of moral blindness and social inequality. The next work, The Drapier's Letters, 1724-25, a series of pamphlets protesting against England's exploitation of Ireland through unfair currency. Written under a pseudonym, they encouraged the Irish resistance and became powerful symbols of political awakening. Through these letters, Swift turned satire into a weapon for justice. Personal life and later years of Jonathan Swift. Jonathan Swift's relationship with Esther Johnson, called Stella in his writing, and Esther Van Hamrick, called Vanessa, reveal his emotional depth and a conflict between affection and duty. He suffered from Meniere's disease, leading to deafness and eventual mental decline. He died in 1745, leaving his estate to found a hospital for the mentally ill, showing his compassion for the suffering. Other works of Jonathan Swift include Journal to Stella, 1710-1713, a series of intimate letters written to his close friend Esther Johnson called Stella, revealing Swift's personal thoughts, humor, and affection. The next work, The Contact of the Allies, 1711, a political pamphlet criticizing the British government's handling of the War of the Spanish Succession. The next work, An Argument Against Abolishing Christianity, 1708, a satirical essay defending Christianity by ironically pretending to argue for its abolition, exposing the superficial piety of society. The next work, Directions to Servants, published posthumously in 1745, a humorous and ironic instruction manual mocking the behavior of both the servants and their masters. The next work, The Mechanical Operation of the Spirit, 1704, a parody of a religious enthusiasm showing how inspiration can sometimes come from madness rather than divinity. The next work, Thoughts on Various Subjects, Moral and Diverting, 1706, a collection of Jonathan Swift's short, sharp aphorisms on human nature, morality, and folly. The next work, The Examiner, 1710-1711, a series of political essays Jonathan Swift contributed to supporting the Tory governments and attacking the Whigs. The next work, The Intelligencer, 1728, written with Thomas Sheridan, this periodical discusses the social and political issues in Ireland with a Swift's characteristic wit. Next work, Verses on the Death of Dr. Swift, 1731, a deeply self-reflective poem in which Jonathan Swift imagines how people will react to his death, blending humor, irony, and melancholy. The next work, On Poetry, a Rhapsody, 1733, a satirical poem criticizing the poor state of poetry and the poets of his time, reflecting Jonathan Swift's high literary standards. The Legacy of Jonathan Swift. Jonathan Swift's works combine wit, moral seriousness, and a political insight. His mastery of irony and satire influenced the generations of writers and thinkers. Even today, his voice stands for truth, intellect, and an unflinching exposure of human hypocrisy.